Hi, guys. Good morning, or good afternoon, I should say. I guess it's close to noon. Um, this is Dan. Welcome to Angle Guys. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. For those of you that support me over on Patreon, thank you so very much for your subscriptions. They mean the world to me. This is the monthly Tarotscope for the sign of Libra for the month of July. So if you have a sun, moon, or rising, or heavily placed planets in the sign of Libra, you may want to watch this. It may give you indication or like some sort of awareness as to what sort of a July you may experience. This is a broad spectrum reading intended to reach a lot of different people with, Libra influence in their charts. So take what you need and kind of leave the rest. If things don't necessarily resonate or make sense to what you're dealing with or working on right now, that's okay. This reading might be for somebody else at this time. It could also be the planet, the houses that your planets are in, or the degrees to which they are in the sign of Libra. All of that can have an effect on it. So keep that in mind. Basically, take what you need and leave the rest. Feel free to share the reading out with other Libras or in groups where it might be appreciated. All other signs have been done with the exception of the other two air signs, which would be Aquarius and Gemini, and they will be done in that order. So after I finish Libra, I will do Aquarius and then Gemini over the course of today. So keep an eye out for that. If you're another sign and you're tuning in right now and you're looking for your sign, feel free to go to the YouTube channel and you can find them on the YouTube channel page there. They should all be there. All of the fire, earth, and water signs are done. All right, so let's see what's going on for Libra this month. This first card is the signifier. It comes from the Oracle of Mystical Moments. So it gives us a little insight or an overview of what the theme of the month may be, or what we want to focus on, what we want to nurture or be aware of throughout the month of July. So let's see. It's not necessarily about us. It's more about like kind of what's going on around us or what we need to cultivate within us. Oh, cool. So this is Listen. This is actually the cover of the book. I've never really pulled this card. So I really like this. I love that this yellow color's on the border down here and then also in the flowers with such like half of the screen or the art is going to the sky, which to me feels very Libran because you guys are an air sign. To me also yellow, I associate that color, especially this type of yellow, with the intellect, right? Which would be the mind. And that is where the air signs rule their best. When I look at this girl, she has her eyes closed and she's sort of going inward in a way, kind of connecting not only to the outside world that's around her, where she's sort of submerged underground and all of these roots, the flowers, the sky, all of these things are kind of talking to her and informing her decision. But she's also kind of keyed in and interconnected with everything through going inward into her own self, into her own awareness, into her own intelligence. So I kind of get a feeling that for Libra this month, you guys might be doing just that throughout the month of July. It's not necessarily the most extroverted month for you, but it's not to say that you guys don't feel like you have a connection to your environment, to those around you. But I feel like you guys are a little bit insular, maybe, I don't know if secluded is the right word, or isolated. I don't think that's a right word either, but it does feel like you guys are relying more on yourself than you might be on others, right? Cues from other sources. Does that make sense? To me, I feel like this listen is maybe listening to our higher self, listening to our subconscious self, either through the dreams or through our, through meditation. We're still able to be part of the world and connect to that world. We also might get different messages from the world around us as we introspectively listen. Does that make sense, Libra? So pay attention to that, because I love these roots that are working through her hair. It kind of connects her to nature and the world around her in a different way than we're normally used to, right? So I would feel like it's safe to say here that maybe the messages are coming through a little bit more spiritually or in a different, more creative, outside of the box way than they normally would in, say, our normal day-to-day hectic lives, like with work or relationships, things like that. So let's get into the cards and see what the cards have to say. This first tarot card is your center. This card tells me where you're centered at, sort of throughout the month of July. You'll go in and out of this card throughout the month. But it gives me indication of kind of where you're at, but also what you could potentially be creating for in the future. Okay. So let me see. I love it. Get with it, Libra. So this is the Ace of Swords. This is your home suit and element of air, which again, I said I saw that sort of, I love how half of this is being dedicated to the sky. The other half, we have all of this yellow, which gives me the intellect. We also have this kind of quiet action of listening, right? It's more of a passive activity. But when we listen, we're kind of taking it in, right? Which also has a sort of air-like quality to it. And there's an intelligence to that. We may not necessarily be sharing out what we need or what we need to say at this time. We might be just listening for cues from other sources. But this Ace of Swords to me is all about that element of air. It is your home's element. So this should feel like a very comfortable center to you. It does, aces do indicate not only a focus on the self being the #1 card, but also it is an opportunity for new thought, new beliefs, new opportunities in maybe contracts or dealings, new ways of communicating. It can be all of that sort of stuff. I would definitely it should be celebrated. You see that with the garland and the crown. All of that is a positive and exciting. It should be something that maybe, how do I want to say this? Like if we felt stuck in months recent, it feels like maybe the clouds are breaking away or things are starting to come into our understanding, into our awareness, and doors are beginning to open for us, certainly, or we're feeling as though we can open those doors through our mind, through our thoughts, through allowing our intelligence to sort of lead us in potentially, more than likely, new ways of perceiving things, thinking about things, relating to the things. But it should be successful. It should feel not only like it's opportunistic, but it should also feel invigorating or exciting. That would be also the energy of the Ace of Swords to me, is it's about new, exciting prospects on the horizon. So I like that for you as your center. The next card is the Foundation. This card tells me a bit about sort of where things were in the past that opened the door for everything to be the way that it is in the reading today. This card can also be sort of the memory of this card from the past can be what either pushes things towards the future or holds things in place in the now. So we want to think about that. So this is the Strength card. It is a complementary element in the sense that strength is associated with the sign of Leo and that of fire. It is major arcana. When I look at this card and I think about the Ace of Swords, like I said, there might have been something that was holding us back. Maybe we didn't have so much clarity in a certain given situation. And the reason why I think that is because that clarity now comes through this Ace of Swords in this month. The truth, the honesty that the swords suit would represent will come through and start to shine bright and true to us, right? Whatever that truth might be for each Libra, it may be something different. In the past, though, what I get from this Strength card is, to me, this is about sort of maybe holding tight, being strong. And I get a feeling that it's more about our strength for others, being like maybe in service to others or trying to hold things together, not only for ourselves, but also, I mean, not only for others, but also for ourselves too. But I kind of get a feeling that this might be postponing things. I don't know why I feel that, because this is not necessarily a traditional Strength card meaning, but it feels like maybe my Libras were postponing things or putting things on hold for a while due to other obligations or other people's needs. And in doing that, it required you to sort of maybe be strong for another or hold. I'm getting like this visual picture of kind of like Libra sort of trying to be the bridge between two, I don't know, two solutions, pulling people together, mending arguments. It kind of has that feeling to me. Right. And in doing that, I feel like you understand your own strength and your own sort of ability to be of service to others and how you've served people. And that has served you well. I like that this Strength card is your foundation because it's a very strong and beautiful, powerful card to have down here. But as far as in the past, it's kind of like, I don't know if you were the, I mean, Libra is obviously the scales, right? So you guys are about balance and maintaining that balance. So it would make sense that you guys would be sort of like the peacemakers. But I'm not sure where you've done it, but it feels like maybe you've put things off or in an effort to help others or be strong for others to help them get to where they need to be. Well, maybe now it's time for you to get where you need to be, if that makes sense. So the next card is the Spirit or Soul card. This tells me where your spirit is at and what it's working on. Interesting. So you have the 10 of Wands. So 10 of Wands is also fire, similar to the Leo that's below us, right? The Strength card that's below us. Fire and air are complementary to one another. They actually feed off of one another. Fire consumes air, air feeds fire. So I like that there's this symbiotic relationship happening here. Fire can be a very fast-moving and intense energy. It can also be one of taking action. Certainly in the past, you were having to be maybe strong or a support to yourself or to others. So that would have been the action that you took, or maybe having to, you know, hold your ground on a certain something in the past, whatever that is. I think that this 10 of Wands, it indicates sort of a closing of a chapter, because we see this Ace of Swords in the center of our July, right? And that would indicate a new beginning. The 10 of Wands is about letting go of a burden, sort of reaching the finish line, being done. This is your soul or your spirit. So I feel like your spirit is asking you to kind of maybe take some sort of an inventory, look at what you've done, look at where you've been. It's certainly showing you, I think, through this Strength card, it's trying to show you where your strengths have lied in the past, and where you've utilized them either to your advantage or to the advantage of others. But either way, you should be proud is the feeling that I'm getting. And with this 10 of Wands up above, I feel like it's asking you, not only is it in the spirit space, in the spirit position, but it's also Wands, which is the suit of spirit. So I like that alignment too. But it tells me a little bit about now is the time to sort of wrap things up, take an inventory or do a reflection on whatever it is that you've been working on, that you've been struggling with, that you've just sort of maybe gotten beyond the finish line, whatever you've kind of come to an end with. And it's not been easy, let's say, especially with that Strength card down in the foundation, but you've done it, you've made it, you've like crossed that finish line. And I feel like this card is your spirit trying to tell you to acknowledge that, embrace that, sort of, own that in a way, right? See it for what it is, and then allow yourself to open up to the new opportunities. And we do that through this sort of idea of listening, going inward, reflecting upon where we've been, what we've done, all of that, and then where we're going or what is new and available to us. There should be, I think, both the Strength card and the 10 of Wands are, to me, the 10 of Wands is also can signify sort of like that hard work of hauling those 10 wands, right? And then the Strength card shows how strong we actually are and what we're capable of, and how we can kind of align or come into like sort of harmony with, I don't know, people or situations within our environment and be of service, right? And so I like that these two cards are here. I feel like they're trying to show you who you are, Libra, and trying to help you to understand that, or maybe see that in a different light, or really own that, and then take that ownership and move through the month of July. All right, so let's go to the next two cards. These are the outside influences. These are things that could be affecting you either positively or negatively. And we just need to be aware of them. They can be people or events, sometimes things more vague, like belief systems or energies that are having an effect on you. So one is the 8 of Cups. 8 of Cups would be obviously the water element. Cups rules the emotions. The 8 of Cups is about kind of walking away in some way, shape, or form. Or again, we see sort of another sort of ending similar to that 10 of Wands up above. I feel like the ending in the 10 of Wands is a completion, though. The 8 of Cups can be a completion, but it's also sometimes maybe we understand we're not going to resolve whatever it is that we're dealing with. So emotionally, we may have to depart from something that's no longer serving us. So we could find that there could be some emotional situations that aren't quite really working for us. And maybe some of this new thought that we see in this Ace of Swords is this idea that, look, I can't give this I can't give any more to this situation, whatever this 8 of Cups represents. That might also be some of the strength that we see in the foundation. This situation for some of you Libras might have been going on for some time. right? And so the Eight of Cups would indicate finally coming to terms with the idea that, okay, this is not changing in any way that is maybe healthy or optimum for myself or anybody else involved. So it's time for me to make the decision to sort of step away, to do the adult thing, to depart. It can be a sad card, but it doesn't have to be, right? It can be about when we make that departure, or when we separate ourselves from, say, the behavior or the situation, whatever it may be for each one of you. And each one of you, it may be something different. When we take those steps to doing the sort of more the right thing, or the adult thing, the mature thing, we actually maintain and bring ourselves, even if it is painful, to a better place. And the 8 number to me is about that restoration of balance. We also see that 8, if you can't, I don't know how well you guys can see this card because the light in here is fairly bad, but there's an infinity symbol right above the cat's head here, which is traditional in most strength cards. When you turn the infinity symbol that way, it becomes an 8. So, and that's that sort of reciprocal balance that goes on. So we might be having to give ourselves some of that reciprocation through this 8 of Cups this month. But in doing so, I think we're doing ourselves a service. We're certainly doing whatever we're walking away from a service, because it's not working anymore. And we need to, again, going back to this card, listen to that intuition, that intelligence that lies deep within us, that is telling us whether or not something is, I don't know, I guess worthy of our time anymore would be the best way to look at it. All right, so let's look at the other outside influence. So this is the Judgment card. Judgment is major arcana, and it is also associated with the sign of Scorpio. Scorpio can be about transformation. Certainly, Scorpio rules sex, death, and transformation. Judgment, it tends to be depicted with an angel, like the Archangel Gabriel, blowing his horn, and sort of people responding to that. So a lot of people call it the card of answering the call, right? When I think about this, because we have that 8 of Cups on one side, and then we have the Judgment card on the other, and it is that sign of Scorpio, which is also water. So again, emotional, intuitional, I don't even know if intuitional is a word, but psychic in a way, very much based in intuition, very much based in the energy of the subconscious, where we connect into spirit. So if we're getting cues, and again, we've got this listen card here where she's down in the earth, like she's grounded and she's connected, but she's listening to all aspects of what's going on, and she's trusting only her own information, right? As we're listening, we might get that sort of that call that the Judgment card represents. We may have to answer it or move towards it, right? We might have to move towards what our spirit requires, or what we know to be true for ourselves. And that's the sort of truth and the honesty that's in that Ace of Swords, the new way of thinking. There might be a departure that needs to take place, right, through that 8 of Cups. That departure may not be easy for us during this month, but it really is the best thing for us and the situation around us. Judgment being major arcana means that whatever this departure might be around, or whatever this calling is towards, whether this departure for some of you and the calling are coupled together, right, where we have to step away from something to arrive at something else, it's going to be for your benefit ultimately, and it will be a rather large benefit, it being major arcana card. Judgment also is very close to the end of the Fool's journey in the major arcana. So again, we see sort of like being close to another chapter ending or closing through answering this call or listening to ourselves and moving forward. And again, remember, this Strength card is sort of our foundation. It's pushing us forward. So we have to remember that we have the strength and the wherewithal to be able to do what we need to do to make the forward movement towards whatever it is that is calling us or that we are seeking. Does that make sense? And if we have to leave a few things behind that maybe we didn't otherwise think we would, or didn't know if we could, we're going to maybe have to come to some sort of terms with that this month, is my feeling. I don't get a sense that it's going to be a whole heavy thing, but it could be for some of you. I don't want to deny the emotionality of the 8 of Cups. It could be a little bit sad or emotional for some of you. And so just be aware of that. But ultimately, where you're heading to me feels exciting and inspiring, but we have to get get to that point, if that makes sense. We have to believe that that's out there for us. We have to act on that and then utilize that strength that is within us to move forward. This next card is the potential outcomes. This tells me sort of where everything's going to naturally head, barring that nothing major changes for the majority of the Libras. This card is not set in stone, though, so we can take it as a warning if it's a negative card and make choices and changes through free will to affect the outcome so that it does not come to pass. But if this is a card that we do like, we can take heart in the fact that we're naturally heading towards it. So let's see what's going on. So it's ending in the Seven of Swords. Not my favorite ending for the Libras. So like I said, it's not set in stone. It is your home element of air. But I will say this, Libra. It almost feels to me, the Seven of Swords can indicate like betrayal, lying, cheating. And when I look at this in it being a swords card, which is air element, it is your home element. But I wonder if the majority of you or a lot of you are more emotionally attached or scared by what is out there for you. That Judgment card could be a little bit intimidating. It could be a little bit scary to let down sort of the burden that we see in the Ten of Wands. And the burden doesn't have to be like, you know, burden maybe isn't the right word in this case, but, you know, sometimes when we wrap something up or we finish something, we fear moving on to the next thing because the next thing might be unknown to us. And so when I look at that Judgment card there, even though it isn't ultimately a good thing and it requires this strength of us, right? We might be fearful of moving forward. We might be fearful of letting go of what's familiar. Because the Seven of Swords to me really honestly feels like us almost finding like a diversion within our mind or something to maybe put off taking the risk that I sort of feel like is in here. What I feel about the risk of that Judgment card, the Eight of Cups, and the excitement of the Ace of Swords is that it might be moving towards the unknown or something that may not feel familiar. And it might require some work. Certainly that Strength card is there. So it does say that it might not be the easiest of tasks to take on. But to me, the Seven of Swords feels like my Libra is maybe being a little bit afraid or, and then, you know, in essence, sort of not necessarily, well, maybe you are lying to yourself, or maybe you're through avoidance or non-admittance in a way, kind of taking what appears to be the easier road, but ultimately it's not, is my feeling. Now, again, the Seven of Swords is not set in stone, but it just says to me that maybe some of you might be having a harder time listening in or trusting your own intuitions, trusting your own intelligence around a certain situation. I mean, you know, she is grounded. I feel like she's very grounded and centered, but she could also feel buried or lost under here too. So if you're perceiving it in that way, and the excitement and the clarity and the honesty and the truth of the Ace of Swords is frightening to you, then I could understand why you may not want to sort of shift or change. That Ten of Wands indicates that your spirit is telling you it's time to change, or it's time to let go of this this task that you've been at. It's time to move on to the next. But do you believe that, is my question, Libra? And so with the Seven of Swords, it makes me think maybe you don't believe it fully. You might think that you're being, you know, lied to at some level, or you might be lying to yourself, right? Thinking like, oh no, everything's fine. I don't need to change anything. But you do. There's something here that says to me that you certainly do. And the Judgment card to me is such a sort of, you know, the answering of the call to me is a bigger plan that maybe than even you may understand. And that might scare you. You know, maybe the goal is bigger than you're comfortable with pursuing. But I think that it might be time to pursue that, Libra. I hope that makes sense. That is your forecast for the month of July. Please, if you enjoyed it, share it with your friends, hit the thumbs up button, and subscribe to the YouTube channel. I look forward to seeing you guys next month. As I said, I'll be back on in a little bit to do Aquarius, and then I will be doing Gemini, and all of the other signs are listed on the YouTube page. Please go check out your sun, moon, and your rising, because a cross section of all 3 readings might give you an indication as to sort of where everything is at for you. And again, you'll all experience different varying degrees of this, depending on where your houses are placed and in how many degrees in Libra and all of that sort of stuff. So take what you need and leave the rest. I will say this: if you don't end up at the 7 of Swords at the end of this month, that will be a great achievement. And you do there's something lingering beyond this. I can feel it, that feels really wonderful and opportune. But you have to believe that it's worth making the changes that you need to make to be able to go after it. All right, Libra, have a wonderful July, and I will talk to you guys later. Take care. Bye-bye.